I'm going to apologize right off the bat for from this moment forward. When I do videos during the day, there could be some noise from outside. They're doing some work on the outside of the house, and due to the work that's going on, I don't have any idea of when a loud noise could happen or what it could be. So don't be alarmed or jarred by it. It's just going to be the way things are probably for a while, probably for at least a few weeks. And it's going to be on and off. And during the weekend they don't work, so whatever. But I wanted to talk about the Blackhawks because I talked about Edmonton and where they're at, and I figure Chicago sits in the bottom row right now on my power rankings. So let's go ahead and get into where they're at and where they are going forward. So these are the lines, and I looked on more than one website for this today. I'm like, all right, I got to look at a couple websites and look over the lines. Let me just go ahead and put that 9 back in there. So right now, geez. So this from putting the board down after I put the numbers up and then picking the board back up. Sod, Taves, and Wingles. Wingles, I believe, is 27. Kane, Schmaltz, and Isimov, Sharp, Hartman, DeBrincat, Hinestroza, Kampf, Don't Call Me Mine, and Lance Boma. On the blue line, Keith, Osterley, Gustafson, Seabrook, Dahlstrom, Murphy. There are some issues here. Obviously, you've got your untouchables. So Kane, absolutely untouchable. He's not going anywhere. Schmaltz, untouchable. He's not going anywhere. Hartman, I don't think goes anywhere. Hartman's totals of 24 points are a little bit below what might have been expected. I believe Hartman had 4 points in his first game this year and a point in his second. And it looked like Hartman was going to take that next step, and he's fallen back. DeBrincat obviously is untouchable as well. Hinestroza may not be, but he should be based on 18 points in 28 games and the way he's been playing. Kampf is fourth line. Boma, fourth line. Boma could very well get moved. No real concerns there. The blue line's where I start to have some concern if I'm a Blackhawks fan. Keith, 26 points, 1 goal in 59 games. He's 34 years of age. He's not getting younger. Seabrook at 32, 18 points, 3 of which are goals in 58 games, and he's not getting any younger or faster. Connor Murphy came over in a deal for Hjalmarsson. That's been a problem. Murphy's 9 points in 53 games. He's not there just for offense, but the idea was that offensively he'd probably be an improvement on Hjalmarsson, and that you should be able to trade them out, and it shouldn't be a big difference. And I know Hjalmarsson and the Arizona Coyotes haven't had a great year, but I wonder if, with the added cap flexibility that having Murphy instead of Hjalmarsson gives them, I wonder if the Blackhawks wouldn't go back and make a different deal. And I mean that. Dahlstrom has been in 5 games, 1 point. And then when you look at guys who aren't in the lineup currently, Ruda, 5 goals, 17 points. He's on the injured list. Forsling, 41 games, 13 points. Probably better off in the minors to develop a little bit further. John Hayden, 39 games, 11 points. Hayden's an interesting one for this. I had expected more out of Hayden. As a rookie, when he first came up, I saw a couple of his first, I think 2 of his first 3 games, and he looked dynamite, looked fantastic. Now, I don't know what's happened in his development, but something's gone on, and 3 goals in 39 games doesn't get it done. Franzen's down in the minors. Nobody took him on waivers. He might get moved at the deadline, but not for a lot. Duclair, 5 points in 14 games since coming over from Arizona. He's 22 years of age, though, so Duclair, of course, we're going to give him the benefit of the doubt based on his age. But I do have questions regarding the ceiling of Anthony Duclair. Absolutely have questions regarding his ceiling. And right now, of course, Crawford, 33, is on the shelf. Tanner. Jeff Glass, not Tanner Glass. Maybe Tanner can play goal. Jeff Glass, 32 games, 14 games, 3 wins, 6 losses, 3 overtime losses, 3.31 goals against, and 898 save percentage. Anton Forsberg, 23 games, 6 wins, 11 losses, 3 overtime losses, 2.95 goals against, and a 908 save percentage. These are the stats to prove a Hockey News article wrong from a month ago, which stated that Corey Crawford has good stats, but look at the team he plays with. If he played with a lesser team, Crawford's stats would be crap. Turns out he already plays with a lesser team. As soon as he's out, you see it. In Rockford, if you want to look at what the future is, Matthew Highmore has put up some pretty decent totals, and I don't see him in charts as far as here's their future. And I'm looking at like Hockey News Annual going into this season and a couple of elite prospect websites, and I don't see Highmore getting mentioned, and yet he's put up decent totals in Rockford, and I think he'll get his chance. Tyler Sakura. So this is where it gets interesting. It might be Sakura, either way. Dylan Sakura is a potential free agent in March. He hasn't signed a deal yet since Chicago drafted him. His brother plays in Rockford. Does that make a difference? Apparently not. Depending on which article you read, and I read a few this morning, either Stan Bowman sat down and believes, yep, we're going to get a deal done, or Sakura is ready to be a free agent in March. I don't know what kind of demand he'll have as a free agent, but he'd have the ability to move. Now, the fact he's a center, and I've got a question mark here because who knows if he's actually going to play for him. The fact he's a center, and you look down the middle, you got Taves, Schmaltz, right now Schmaltz, and Isimov can play center too. Hartman, Kampf, and in the minors, you've got other players who can play center, and, Sakura's needed by this team because Jonathan Taves is 29, Patrick Kane's 29. My concern when I look at their future, where's the next Kane coming from? Where's the next Taves coming from? Where's the young kid that's going to come in and be that? DeBrincat? Okay. All right. DeBrincat's a small, diminutive forward who can play a lot of offense. Maybe he can replace Patrick Kane at some point. Does DeBrincat have that talent level? Does he have the ability to lead in the playoffs? We'll find out. But down the middle, it's tricky. Schmaltz, 40 points in 55 games, is tied with Taves in points with 4 less games played. But is Schmaltz a first-line center? Because if he's not, then the Blackhawks could be looking within a year or less at who's our first-line center. Next year's cap space, they right now have $10.4 million at $75 million, but the cap's going to go up to as high as $82 million. If it goes to 82, they have $17.4 million. Free agents. Duclair's an RFA with arbitration rights. Duclair's not getting a raise in arbitration. Boma's UFA. Hartman's RFA. No arbitration for Hartman. Sharp UFA. I can't see them keeping him as 15 points in 50 games. He's 36 years of age. I think Patrick Sharp's done. Yurko, RFA with arbitration rights. Wingles is a UFA. Wingles is being rumored as a target for a rental, but you're not going to get a lot back for Tommy Wingles. Hinostroza is an RFA with arbitration rights. That'll be an interesting arbitration. Does he get penalized for playing fewer games, or do they look at his point totals and give him a reward based on that? Ruta's UFA. I don't know if he's going to stick around. 17 points in 41 games. Likely not. And Gustafson's an RFA with arbitration rights. He's got 3 points in 12 games. An arbitrator's not going to award him a big deal. So the good news for Chicago is, of these players, Hartman's not going to get a major raise. They're likely drop Sharp. I think they just drop Yurko. I don't think they're even going to qualify Yurko. And then you look in the minors. You've got Hayden's an RFA with arbitration rights. He's not going to get a raise. Franzen's UFA. Tutu's UFA. Clendenning RFA with arbitration rates. He's not going to get a raise. DiDomenico and Jeff Glass are UFA. Berube is signed through 2019. So even if Glass isn't renewed or brought back in any way by Chicago, they have Crawford, Forsberg, and Berube for next year. Now we look at their feeder system. So Yoki Haru, or Yoki Haru. I've heard it pronounced both ways. Yoki Haru, I'll say. Defenseman, maybe helps here. Chad Chris, maybe helps here. The number 8 pick, though, is interesting because there's 4 defensemen that could be available, because after you get past the first few, it's going to be interesting to see who gets picked where. Evan Bouchard, Noah Dobson, Ty Smith, and I'm reaching on Quentin Hughes. Quentin Hughes, depending on which list I'm looking at, probably goes between 5 and 7th, maybe even as high as 4th. At the number 8 pick, they'll be able to grab a defenseman. Then the question becomes, are they going to grab a defenseman that's shitless like a Charlie McAvoy, and he's ready right away? Or is this going to be a defenseman they have to wait a couple of years on? And is that going to factor into Stan Bowman's decision when he sits down at the draft table and decides how to fix this? Because, again, my issue with Chicago, and they're a good team. They're still a good team. I think they've underachieved this year, and I think they can definitely get back to the playoffs next year. But my issue with them is, where's the next star player coming in? because the NHL is all about youth. Most of the league's 26 and younger. And while Chicago's not an old team, the number of really solid young prospects coming in who are going to replace a guy like Taves or Kane, it's limited. You got DeBrincat coming in. But honestly, and again, I know this is likely not accurate. DeBrincat has to be on that first line with Saad and Taves, doesn't he? Taves is pass first. Having DeBrincat and Saad on either side, you would think would work. It just looks like that should work, right? And I'm still surprised to this day that Patrick Kane's never been converted to center. That surprises me. Because to me it just seems like a natural fit. But again, there are reasons why teams do things the way they do them, and that's something that Chicago's got its good reasons for doing. They got 3 Stanley Cups. I can't fault them when they've got 3 Stanley Cups, and since 2010. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much better this gets for them next year, because I look at this blue line, and even if you put Forsling in there, and even if you add, say, like Noah Dobson is getting a shot at this roster, if Seabrook goes, what do you get back? Because everybody wants to get rid of Seabrook. Well, what do you get back? Does it improve the blue line? Or is Chicago right now on the verge of a rebuild? I would say retool, based on Taves, Kane. Saad is still... I mean, Saad has not had a great season. The total Saad has put up... He was decent the first 10 games. His totals since then have not been fantastic. I would be concerned as a Chicago fan for this. And again, and I said at the time that Saad for Panarin just seemed really weird to me. And I can't help but wonder if Panarin was here playing with Kane, if we'd see a completely different setup. Kane's been fine. He has 55 points in 59 games. And Panarin's played well in Columbus. But if Panarin was here and Saad was still in Columbus, how different would things potentially be? I think part of what happened last summer was Chicago knew they had a massive cap crunch. And they still do. If not for Hossa not being able to play anymore, they would still be in a massive cap situation. But in their efforts to fix the cap situation, I think they worsened the team. You look at losing Hjalmarsson, you look at losing Panarin, and I just don't know that Murphy, Saad, I just don't know that evens things up. And I think what happened with Chicago was they messed with the chemistry. And now as Coach Quenneville tries to rediscover that chemistry and get it all together, and they sit 11 points outside the playoffs, so there's some desperation to these moves. I don't know that he's making the situation better. But again, and I've mentioned this before, sometimes when coaches are getting criticized for moves they're making and who's in or out of the lineup, they may not have the pieces available to them to fix the roster. So I think that's kind of where we're at right now. As I said, loud noises, right? And they could do it again. They could just start right up again. So I guess I can leave it at this. Again, the number 8 pick is based on where they would pick in the draft right now. They could win the draft lottery, sure, and go first and get Dahlin, but I'm just assuming, as it is, that they'd end up with the number 8 draft pick. And the odds of them winning the draft lottery, not great.
Oh, yeah.
So we're good?
Yeah.
Okay. Wait, so they're cutting the board, or are they using a saw?
It's already,
okay.
That's what the sound was.
All right, excellent. Okay. So to sum up, Chicago, the question I have, and this is more for Chicago fans than anybody else, but everybody can weigh in on this. Retool, rebuild, and if you're a Hawks fan, are you concerned about Sakura possibly going out as a UFA and finding somewhere else? Do you view him as part of the solution? And if you're a Rockford fan, how good's Highmore? Because his totals look good. And Highmore definitely could help with this situation if he's a genuine NHL level prospect. And he is only 21 years of age. He's about to turn 22, but from what I was reading, he's 21. And this is his first pro year. So that might help mitigate some of the situations that are going on here as well. How concerned are you if you're a Hawks fan right now? And here's another question. Do you want to change it, coach? Because if I asked a year ago, I think most Hawks fans would be like, no, change coach, come on. But I do wonder how much longer Coach Q is going to be in Chicago. But let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And hey, thank you very much for watching. I apologize for the noise, but as I said at the start of this video, that's going to be happening. And there you go. The Blackhawks. And notice I didn't talk a lot about them selling guys off at the deadline because I really don't know which of these guys that's UFA would actually fetch a return that's going to help fix what's going on with the Chicago roster. Selling just for the sake of selling is it can be tough. It can be a tough move. But thank you guys for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.